National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio Chapter Banquet. It's with great excitement that I welcome you all to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Banquet. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I think it's a great organization to give your support to, and we're here this afternoon to honor some very special inductees. This banquet's about the accomplishments and the tireless work that the inductees have put in over their careers. It's about, we're going to recognize 6 individuals that their contributions to Ohio wrestling are numerous. Wrestling wouldn't be where it is today without their contributions. Our inductees have been pioneers in the sport, pioneers in their field. They have challenged the ordinary. They've put in the work and overcome the obstacles. In doing so, they have changed the landscape of the sport of wrestling. They have provided an inspirational example for generations to come. Tonight's banquet, we're excited about another great class of inductees. At every table, I think there are some more nominees. There's so many great people in the state of Ohio that should be and can be recognized by this organization. If you know of somebody and would like to nominate them, make sure you get it to somebody from the on one of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame boards before you leave today. I would like to introduce past inductees that are in attendance today. From the class of 2010, Dick Bonacci. If I could have them all stand and we hold our applause until the very end, that'd probably be the best. Sorry about that. Bob Stoll from the class of 2012. Anthony Campolo from the class of 2013. Chick Lamont from the class of 2014. Also from the class of 2014, Ray Anthony, Steve Kish, Frank Romano. Class of 2015, Paul Palavoda, Robin Rayfield. 2016, Andy DeSabato. Let's give these guys a round of applause. After Steve Kish is going to give the invocation. After he gives the invocation, the hotel staff will release your tables to go through the buffet line. Steve.
Also a reminder, please, when you go through the line to have your tickets. We'll ask for those as you go through. Will you please bow your heads? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to induct this class. This is our 8th class going into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio Chapter. Thank you for the many folks who have helped inspire them and who are here this evening with them, relatives, friends, fans in general. We're very proud to be members of the wrestling family, and it's a family that has each other's backs and cares about each other and cares about the folks that we are going to induct this evening. We ask this in your name, dear Heavenly Father, and ask for our safe trips home. Amen.
Earning a silver medal in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. Matt's the only U.S. Greco-Roman wrestler in history to earn a total of 4 World Championship and Olympic medals. He is a 4-time World Cup champion, a 9-time Pan American Games champion, a gold medalist. Both of them are USA Wrestling records. He's a 7-time USA Wrestling National Champion, 2-time Pan American Games gold medalist, and was twice named the U.S. Olympic Committee's Greco-Roman Athlete of the Year. Matt is also a distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's my pleasure to introduce Matt Ghaffari. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach Greenlee. I think my mom wrote all that stuff. It just says I'm old. I wrestle way past my time, that's all. I want to thank the Ohio National Wrestling Hall of Fame Board and also thank all the people who make this event. Wrestling families, it's a very tight group. We are here and honored to celebrate with the inductee they're a special day. They are influence to many people's lives, coaches, teachers, and also first time ever, we have someone who runs the tournaments, actually draw the brackets, they said in sand, but now we are excited about that. Let me start by reading my famous and favorite quotations that I used to take to my locker all the time. Success and happiness does not come from doing easy work, but from afterglow of satisfaction that comes after achievement of a difficult task that demands your very best. Wrestling is not an easy sport. Wrestling is the only sport there is no buffer. There is not a net. There is not a glove like boxing with got padding. There is not a ball or a timer. You are the play caller, and you cry when you lose. You lose because you weren't strong enough, you weren't fast enough, you didn't have the right technique, you stepped out of bounds. But wrestling is very, very hard sport. Everything is emotional and passionate. And we all love it. It takes the crazy folks like us to go into sports that all it does is damage your body. So we get replacement knees and shoulder. I sit down and talk to our president, Bruce Baumgartner, 2 hips, 2 knees. So we take care of our bodies at early age and compete. For the rest of our life, we're in a rehab club. For the interest of time they have asked, Coach Greenlee has a hook, about 5.5, 6 minutes. But we try to move it on. Everyone's important. Please read the bio. I cannot read everything. Take a look at the displays out there. This is a special day for their families. Everybody has a piece of this success. Our first inductee is a Lifetime Service Award honoree for 2018 is Marion Stolz. I have to say that they had a library truck with many awards that they weren't allowed to park in a parking lot. They said they had to empty the town. She wasn't not involved in wrestling. She's a leader in the community. And the best thing I can say, she stuck with wrestling after her husband stopped coaching. So she loves wrestling, and I want to bring her up there and say thank you for everything you do for the announcement, the brackets, and you grew with wrestling. Now you're giving all the awards. Our first inductee, please, Marion Stolz. Congratulations.
Thank you. First of all, let me say thank you to the Ohio chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I am both humbled and honored to receive this very prestigious award. I really feel I should accept it on behalf of every person who works behind the scenes in every match and tournament throughout the country. I first became interested in wrestling at my small Catholic high school in the late 60s. Our program was good, I had several friends on the team, and I would go to watch matches. And then I started dating this boy from the public school across the street, and he was a wrestler. So when my school hosted an invitational and he was in it, I went to the match. The tournament didn't quite go as planned, and he lost on a controversial decision. Needless to say, I didn't hear from him for several weeks because, well, as you all know, girls are a distraction, and he was very determined. And as the season progressed and things went more according to plan, he decided that maybe I might be okay, and I began hearing from him again. I found out that he was the first wrestler to go to state from Bel Air High School as a junior. And when he was able to repeat that his senior year, he figured maybe I was all right. Well, that was 48 years ago, and we've been together ever since. We used to say we went to different colleges together. I headed to Kent, and he went to Bethany in West Virginia. After graduation, we both got jobs as teachers. I became an art teacher at St. John's, which was my alma mater, and he taught general science at Bel Air. You know, this is just my opinion, but I think there is some kind of connection between wrestling and art. My high school art teacher, the man who inspired my career, was the wrestling coach. A good friend who was also in those art classes with me was a very good high school and college wrestler and a very successful coach. Then, of course, there's Cale Sanderson, who was a visual studies major. I'm just saying. But I digress. My husband started coaching, and my involvement in wrestling began again, working matches and tournaments. And anyone who's ever been to Small Fry knows no tournament is complete without a bottle of Advil. In 1978, St. John's got a new biology teacher, and guess what? She loved wrestling. And the two of us would coordinate tournaments. My classes and I printed brackets and t-shirts, and the school would let us go to the Ohio State tournament because of all the work we did. In a small school like St. John's, people wore a lot of hats. I signed 11 supplemental contracts during my 15 years there, cheerleaders, dancers, music, you name it. I was young then. It's funny, but as I prepared for this speech, I ran into one of my husband's former wrestlers who told me he still has the bracket I made that he received when he won his weight class. He even told me he remembered what I said to him when I presented it. Well, it's about time one of you boys from Belair won one of these. About this time, my friend Linda joined me in working at the Ohio Valley Athletic Conference tournament, one of the largest around. In those days, everything was done by hand. Bout sheets, results, brackets, collating results. So we would work wherever we were needed. Heck, I've even sung the national anthem. As the years have gone by, my friend Linda moved. My husband Jeff left coaching. I moved to that public school across the street as a teacher, but I'm still working the OVAC tournament. A lot has changed. I retired. Computers do the bout sheets and tabulate scores. Machines print and collate the brackets and score sheets, and of course, the rules and the uniforms are always in a state of flux. Some years ago, Steve Kish had me create award certificates for the returning 25-year champions. They were the size of a piece of poster board and were drawn by hand. Well, I'm still doing them, but now they're 8.5 by 11, and I make them on the computer. My job these days is announcing. There's quite a lot of tradition associated with this tournament, and I introduce teams, give match results, and announce award winners. Most of all, the OVAC is a family, a group of people who have worked together for years and look forward to those 3 days in January. I've had the privilege of meeting and working with some of the best names in Ohio wrestling, Bobby Douglas, the late George Kovalik, and a host of coaches and officials who have made names for themselves in the sport. It's particularly enjoyable when one of those student athletes I used to announce on the mat comes back as a coach or official, passing on his skills and love of the sport to some fresh new face. I feel very strongly that extracurriculars are where a great deal of learning occurs. So many things can be taught through participation over and above the school day. Wherever a student's interest lies, it becomes an opportunity for life lessons. Whether it be sports, art, music, or academics, we are the ones who have the responsibility to pass our passion on to future generations. I've always felt wrestling in particular presented that opportunity because each man is alone on the mat. While scores may be tabulated for team recognition, each individual is directly responsible for the outcome. I started a dance team when I began teaching at Belair, and my belief was that if dance was the only thing I taught my girls, then I was a failure. I had the opportunity to see several of them a few weeks ago when they returned for the homecoming game. They told me that as they went over routines, preparing to march to the field, they began to talk about the things that I had taught them. None of the things they discussed were about dance. What greater compliment can a coach receive? Thank you to my family, my friends who've traveled here to share this day, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And most especially, thank you to the Wrestling Hall of Fame for this great honor.
I'm going to give you my second important quotation. Nothing can stop a man or woman with the right mental attitude from achieving their goals. Same time, nothing on earth can help a man or woman with the wrong mental attitude. That's from Thomas Jefferson. Wrestling is a mental sport. 99% of us from 13 years old to Olympics, train 4 to 6, 3 to 5, 2 hours a day. It takes a special mental preparation to overcome injury, overcome fatigue, and most importantly, sacrifice for what you love. Our second nominee for the lifetime service to wrestling is Kenneth Ash. I want to thank the Ash family for drinking all the Bud Light, Dilly Dilly. Not a sponsor, but we are working on it, thanks to you guys. The whole table was full of blue cans. I had bottles. I was excited. Mr. Ash has a very extensive bio. I only give you the highlights. Have a state championship team for 1976-77. Entered into Ohio Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame in 1991. We are honored to have him and his family here. And please, I encourage everybody to read the bio. I don't want to read it for you, but please, Mr. Ash, this is all yours.
Wow. Totally overwhelmed. And my wrestlers out there, you know, that doesn't happen to me very often. This is just, it's just truly amazing. I'm so pleased to be here tonight, and like I said, I'm just totally overwhelmed. First of all, I got to thank a few people. Wow, I don't know, time limit. I prepared this for an hour and a half. I guess I'll cut it down. A couple notes. Trust me, I will not be real long, but a couple things have to happen, and I scrapped my joke, so I won't have to take up too much time. First of all, I gotta just thank God for being here and living in America. I am so blessed to be around folks like you guys. It's been absolutely amazing, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't. And I'd like this group to just stand, and it won't be very long. But anybody that was in the military, fire department, police department, even if you were part-time or full-time, could we have you stand up, please? Please stand up. Anybody that was in the military at all? Let's just give a big hand. None of us would be here. None of us. Nobody would be here. What sacrifices you guys made for us, and we appreciate it. I'd like to thank the Ohio National Hall of Fame and the Ohio Hall of Fame group and the National Hall of Fame group and the committee for taking time to get us here. Bobby Stolz for nominating me. Andy DeSabato was fantastic. Thanks for helping me through this, Andy. I'm going to do a quick rotation around the table, introducing my family back here. Nikki Vassell, just wave to him, Nick, third grade teacher in Hilliard. Tosheen McGee was the science teacher in Hilliard. Let's see who's next on here. Gotta get everything here. My son-in-law, Steve McGee, senior English teacher at Tolls. I got Jim Vassell. He owns his own counseling business here in the area. My grandchildren, Dominic McGee, Toledo University as a senior. Alexander Vassell, who had to make a quick stop here after going to Watterson to help volunteering this morning. Nicholas Vassell, going to school here, he's in the 6th grade building. And Keelan McGee is also out at Jonathan Alder. The guys are great. I could talk, and for any of my wrestlers was to say that wherever they saw me, they saw my wife. Stand up, baby. 52 years. 52 years. She was at every match. It's just great. How many coaches' wives go to every single match? Never missed. I love you, honey. 52 years. But she went at all times. John Riggs, Kevin Moody, stand up, both of you. Just stand up. Just stand up. I was going to have them saying, don't sit down. Kevin made a couple cracks, so I said, I'm going to make you stand for a couple seconds. I'll tell you, these guys, I had a lot of coaches that were with me for 13 years, just with me side by side, 13 years. And guys, I can't say enough. Since I couldn't get your phone numbers, I have a flip phone with my number on the back. Thanks for writing those neat letters for me. I really appreciate it. These guys were fantastic. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Wow. So much in so little time. Just amazing. My first school experience teaching was in 1968, and it just dawned on me. This year, my seniors turned 65 years old. So I've been around for a while. I first started teaching at Licking Valley High School. No mats, nothing. We had a 6-4 season. We ended up at Licking Valley. Had a great program and went from there to Olentangy. But at Licking Valley, we actually had a mud day. I don't know how many people have had a mud day. That happens when it rains so much our buses actually couldn't get up in the hills down Newark. So we ended up having a mud day. The second school I went to was Olentangy High School. At Olentangy High School, they had never had a wrestling program before. We ended up 22-2 in 2 years and sent a kid to the state the first year. It was an amazing time. From there, I went to Licking Heights, and at Licking Heights, we had just had a great group of kids there. We won the state 2 years in a row. Went ahead and had 2 state runner-ups. We had some world champions, some national champions. We had just tons of kids that came out of there. From there, I went to Hilliard. At Hilliard, it was kind of an interesting situation. We go out, the program had been established for a while. The only problem was they didn't have a wrestling mat or a wrestling room at that time. They had one mat. We had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, bring my pickup truck to get the mats from over at the community center back over to Hilliard High School. We do that. I think that's the only reason. I had a school bus driver's license and a pickup truck. I really think that's why they had me over at Hilliard. It was just a wonderful situation. I just jotted down some of the colleges that our kids went to that were scholarship wrestlers. And I'll just read them off to you real quick. These kids, some of them had some pretty good scholarships. You'll notice that some of the schools like Clemson don't have a program anymore, but I sure sent two good ones for Wade Shallis. But here's the schools that our kids went to. Miami of Ohio, all on either a grant or a scholarship. Boston College, Harvard, Findlay, University of Nebraska at Omaha, Illinois, Southern Illinois, LSU, Clemson, Tri-C Community College, Clarion, Ohio Northern, Ashland, Toledo, and the Ohio State University. The community of wrestling, you talked about it, we are a tight-knit community. Sticking together, seeing you guys again after all these years is amazing. And working with all the wrestlers, with all the personnel has just been a great, great honor. We're living down the great state of Florida now. It was 92 degrees when we left down there. I'm about to freeze up here in this end of the state, but once again, I would like to thank everybody. I skipped over a lot of stuff that I could have talked about, but since there's a lot of other speakers coming up, once again, totally overwhelmed. Love all of you. Wish nothing but the best. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Ash, 52 years, we should give you the jacket. That explains all the Bud Lights. Things make sense after. Our next, this is a little bit bittersweet because John Borszcz coached Ron Varga, who coached me. He was a national champion at Tri-C. But also John Borszcz coached Greg Dombrowski, which we competed head-to-head many battles. I still think my memory is messed up because of him. John was a Maple Hush state champ. He brought that winning tradition to Tri-C. He was very instrumental in not only junior college wrestling, but many other teaching and PE. Would you want me to bring the chair and slowly come up? We are very honored to have John, and I want to keep John in our prayers. And we didn't know he will make it here today. And this is a great, great man who helped Northeast Ohio, many champions, many, and just rough by up front. Also, Coach Romano would read a letter after John's quick speech. I don't know where the microphone is. Can they bring the microphone down here? It's taped up. So let me turn it up. Okay. You got it. It's heavy.
I'd like to thank a lot of people. I'm going through some health issues right now, but with all your prayers and your well wishes, I hope to beat this disease. It's been a tough time, but I'll make it. I'd like to thank my wife of 50 years, my son Matt, and my daughter Meredith. They've been with me all this time. If anybody read the bio, they probably wonder, how did I get from Maple Heights to University of Wyoming? After becoming state champ, you know, everybody from Maple Heights would receive something from Michigan, Iowa State, blah, blah, blah. And I finally received something from University of Wyoming, where they were third in the nation the year before, and Coach Dr. Ehlert was Coach of the Year. And Coach Malkovich said, John, get out of here. Go someplace where nobody else has been. So that's how I ended up at the University of Wyoming. It was a great, the funny thing about it, I would get off the plane in Laramie, if anybody been to Laramie. Coach Ehlert drove me around, bought me dinner, took me back to the hotel or the dorm. And what do you think I did? The first thing I did? Got to the phone, called my mother up and said, Mom, I'm coming home. But she was smart enough, being, you know, born in Poland just like I was, said stick around until Christmas, and then if you want to come home at Christmas, I'll let you come home. Well, I came home that Christmas and never went home again. You know, so I love the University of Wyoming. I love all the association I had in Wyoming. I loved Mike Malkovich because he's the one who really got me started in wrestling. You know, what I have is, I'm going to cut this short, but I have my friend, who's back there someplace, Frank Romano. We've been roommates now when we go to the NCAA Division I tournaments every year. I have to put up with Frank. He takes 2.5 hour showers. There's Frank. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be associated with this group. And please keep on praying.
Thank you, Coach. I asked Mrs. Borszcz, what can I say? He say, Polish guy done good. And then Tom Ehlert heard that, and he was telling me Polish jokes. The kamikaze Polish pilot was successful in his 39th mission. Most of us don't know what kamikaze is because we live a younger, but Tom wanted to throw his 2 cents in because of it. But we speak dziękuję, thank you in Polish, and we speak fluent. Coach Romano. Well, 2.5 hours in the shower, you must have scrubbed clean.
Clean, yeah,
I mean, it's unmentionable.
The Borszcz family, John in particular, asked me to say a few words, and I'll keep it short. John, as you know, very few members of any Hall of Fame had such a humble beginning. As was mentioned, John was in Warsaw, Poland, born in Poland, and the Nazis sent him to the concentration camp. His mother and father and John, and I think he was there till he was age 6 or so. And then fortunately, he came to this country, and he ended up first in Connecticut, and then somehow, with a better job, his father and family and himself moved to Maple Heights, Ohio. And so, you know, he was just a young person in Maple Heights in the early 60s, and during the 60s, I mean, it was all wrestling. If you weren't on the wrestling team, you know, all the other sports really didn't count. So John went out for wrestling, and by the time he was a senior, he was state champ. And the other things I wanted to mention, other than his great record of being 50-1 when he first started coaching at a community college in Iowa, and then he came to Tri-C West where they were national champs, and second twice. He was the Coaches Association secretary, he was president, he coached the Pan Am team for the junior colleges. John's had a very, very successful career. And I remember one story in particular. I was probably in 8th or 9th grade, and you know, the college kids would come home for practice, because Big Mike was adamant about that. You know, everybody would come back to practice, and we loved it because these were college kids, and we were like 8th, 9th graders and high school kids. And for some reason, John singled me out. And I was in 8th or 9th grade, and we would have practice, and then in our high school, which is no longer there, they built a new one, there was a 3rd floor. And John said, you and me are going up to the 3rd floor, and we're going to run sprints until we can't run anymore. And this was after practice. And if you've ever been to a Maple Heights practice, it was pretty grueling. And so, of course, I could never keep up with him. But that was my first introduction to John. That was probably 62 or 63. And always, we've been friends. And like you say, we go to the national tournament together. And anybody who's from the Maple Heights family, whether they wrestled in the 60s or the 50s or the 70s or the 80s, they're from Maple Heights. So we kind of bond together. So I just wanted to say a few words. John is a great man, and he's done a lot. He's very humble person. You would never know that he accomplished all the things that he did because he's so humble. And the only people that really know is the people who have watched him over all these years, and I just want to congratulate him. Thank you very much.
Wrestling is a humble sport. We all bought our own shoes and our own uniform. We didn't have people donate or sponsor many of our equipment. Our next honoree is a bittersweet. Talking to one of the board members, my coach, Coach Bonacci. Tom has cost Cleveland State and me many, many matches. It's amazing once you retire, you like the guy, or when you're not. But he's a lifetime achievement for for this year nominee Tom Ehlert. 35 years wrestling, officiating, many tournaments, NCAA qualification, and all the dual meets in Division 1, 2, or 3. Please welcome Tom.
Hope I can make it.
Are you stalling? Caution.
First warning I get.
And the last.
Boy, how do you follow a group like this? They've been taking all my material, except the kamikaze pilot. Did you hear about the kamikaze pilot? The Polish kamikaze pilot. He had his 30th flight yesterday.
Now explain the joke.
He missed the boat. Well, it's very, very, how should I say, warm in the heart for me to express thankfulness for everybody involved with the committee and those that recommended me to be honored at this occasion. My wife Athena, my daughter Laura, and my son Richard. And Athena Therese, who's not here, were my pillars. For after 35 years of coaching, of officiating, and it was very trying when I came home, because anyone that's officiated knows you're only half right. Everybody in their heart, especially moms, because my boys never made a mistake. So with that in mind, I have to tell you, it was my family that supported me. Don't worry about it, Dad, don't worry about it. Well, I don't know if I heard it, honey, but it happened, I guess. So I just let it pass through. Since 1953, I'll never forget the day that I was finished with football practice, and I was leaving a locker room when my friend Sammy Kralik said, "Hey, come on, let's go into the wrestling room." And I thought, go into the wrestling room? Well, that started it. I had no idea. The only thing I've ever seen in wrestling was on TV. The pros doing their business of exhibition and entertaining people. Well, when I stepped over the rope and I went and I see all these things are going on, and the coach says, "Come on in, you're more than welcome, come on in, come on in." And in most cases, I think coaches have what they call a round robin, where they form a circle and they have you step in and you take many chances at different people coming in for a takedown, and so on. Well, they said, "Okay, Tom, it's your turn." Takedown? That was news to me. Well, I stepped in the circle, and as the fellow in the center of the circle came toward me and shot a double leg, I hit him as hard as I could with the forearm. And I figured, like hell, you're not going to take me down. And I'll never forget that day. But however, Bob Lucero and Fred Schleicher were the two professional coaches that worked me into Ohio University. Bob, who was a dear friend for 50 years, not only as a coach, but as a dear friend, almost a father friend. And Fred Schleicher, I'll never forget the day when he came into the wrestling room and he heard about the West Tech wrestling team, and at that time it was West High, West Tech, John Marshall, the Senate. And Maple Heights was the pinnacle at that particular time. And he came in and he said, "I want to talk with you." And I said, "Oh, geez, what did I do now?" And so he said, "I want you to come to Ohio University." Well, I said, "Well, I'm a mid-semester graduate. I've got another half season to wrestle." He said, "I want you now." And so, long story short, Fred recruited on the spot and helped us, gave us a room and a board job And from that day on, started a career in the college business. And after graduation, I don't know if you remember the Depression, but we were just coming out of the Depression. There weren't any jobs. And when I was in the engineering curriculum, well, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer. I want to be a mechanical engineer. I saw the counselor. He said, Tom, there aren't any mechanical engineering jobs available at this time. So I said, what do you suggest? He said, education. He said, they need teachers. So I got into the teaching business because of my counselor. And so on, and after the, I graduated in 3 years because I didn't have any more money. I needed a job. So I got a job. My first year was $3,500 a year. Would you believe that? And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Greentown, Ohio, but that was my start. And from there, I went in North Canton, got the program going in North Canton, and then from there into Rhodes High School. And there, from Rhodes High School, I started the wrestling program to all these young bucks who came to Tri-C West. I was the guy that started the program there, and encouraged as I went along in the officiating area of working people in towards wrestling to go out to the community college if they didn't have the money to go to a 4-year school. Well, after the 35 years in the business, I'm not ready for takedowns anymore. But I do have a humble heart to thank all of you who have come this evening, and to all the people responsible for my being up here. I have so many names, I can't remember all of them, and I'm sorry about that. But thank you to all. And I have to tell you about all of the students that I've had to deal with have come along very strongly and professionally. Paulie Oberson and his crew, and it wasn't for Frankie Romano, who encouraged as we went along, and Craig Heidinger, and the fellows that were with Craig. I thank you. Oh! H! Come on! Oh! H! Oh!
He wants to say OU, but it's all right. OU, not OHIO.
Trying to pick up the spirits here. And by the way, I've only been married over 66 years, so it's been fun.
You only remember the good 50 years, right?
Big point.
Oh.
Thank you.
Our next nominee, Chuck
Thank you.
Forward. And if you see his display, Clark's name's on there. Chuck has over 300 wins, and Clark's almost there with 170. The whole family's very, very successful. But not only dedicated most of his life to the sport of wrestling, but he taught coaches to be successful. He raised money when the school wasn't, to build a wrestling room and a weight room, which at that year, 1993, was state of the art for high schools. When you have a good room and a good weight room, your success rate goes up, your championship numbers go up. But he taught people that there's ways if you really want to do it. Please put your hands together for Chuck. Come on up.
Yeah, I'm a little different than a lot of these people, but I started out, and I guess first of all, I want to thank everybody on the selection committee. Really appreciate it. means a lot when your peers, honor you in this way. But I actually never watched a wrestling match until would have been my freshman year in high school. I had a coach come in. His wife was Grady Penninger's secretary. If you know Grady, he was at Michigan State, and they were national champions and Big Ten champions at that time. I lived about a half hour south of there and a half hour west of Ann Arbor. And I actually, in the biography, I said I won 4 conference championships. I only won 3. First year we were a club, and all we did was scrimmage, and that was the first I ever wrestled. And ended up, I think my junior year, I missed going to state, and I was pretty disappointed. Go-to match, and came back and ended up winning it my senior year, which was kind of good. And I was hooked, and have been ever since. And ended up going to Adrian College, wrestled at Adrian. We won the MIAA championship, which was first in their history. Our team was put in the Hall of Fame up there. I left there, went to Delta, Ohio. Robin's over here from Delta. And I started there as assistant coach for 2 years, and we were successful there. And then I was offered a job at Archibald, and it's west of Delta a little bit. And we're in a pretty competitive league. Wasion, Montpelier, Bryan, Liberty Center, Delta, us. I'm probably missing somebody else, but yeah, Swanton. It's a very good league, and we had some battles. Robin and I went at it. We were ranked 1 and 2 in the state a couple of times. We had some good matches. Yeah, and it came right down to the final seconds, but we had a lot of good times. I ended up going to a great community, great kids, great coaches. Most of my assistants were guys that wrestled for me. Troy over here coaches at Montpelier, and he was one of my first wrestlers. And I think I counted it one time back 10 years ago or so, I had over 25 guys that went on and coached at other schools, which I thought was pretty neat. And Troy, I don't know if Troy remembers, but when I first went there, they told me they had 40 guys on the team, and I thought, man, that's good. We're gonna go over there and kick butt. And by the end of the first year, I had 11 guys left. And most of them didn't want to work that hard. Troy was one of them. He stayed. And we had a pretty darn good team with only 11 guys. And then it got better, and we worked hard at it and started a youth program. I got a van. My wife and we've been together also 50-some years. We traveled all the time. We also ended up having 3 boys, so that wasn't good. So we'd be every day or every weekend we'd be traveling. And the biggest thing we had to do was change the attitude. That used to be the kids wanted to just qualify for state, and it took a few years to convince them, hey, you're not just qualifying, you're going down to win it. And I think I lost 7 times in the finals before we had our first winner. And we went on from there and became pretty successful, and had, I don't know, it's in the program there, I don't know, had a lot of very good kids at place. Did summer camps. I was one of the first people, I think, to bring high caliber people into my school, because I always had the excuse from the kids, well, I can't go, I got baseball, I got this, I got that. Well, I brought them to our place. And I remember guys like Sean Bormet and Jason Culver and a lot of the Michigan guys, a lot of the Ohio State guys, a lot of the Michigan State guys, they would come down, and I brought them to our school, and that worked good. And so, it took a lot of time and effort, did a lot of different things, had to built 2 wrestling rooms during the time, and I worked on those a lot of hours. So, it was a project, but more and more I tried to convince the kids to get into freestyle and Greco, and I got into coaching freestyle and Greco with the Ohio teams, and probably the best years of my life. And we ended up traveling across the country. I mean, we were Las Vegas, Orlando, La Crosse, Rockport, Syracuse. We went all over and had a great time. 2 of the better years, if you looked at the pictures I had out there, I was I guess you'd call it the group leader for the Ohio junior dual team. And we went out to Oklahoma City, and both years we finished runner-up. And the 1 year we got beat on criteria, we tied with Oklahoma and they beat us on criteria. In the second year, they beat us by 1 point. But that was fun because I got to recruit the guys from across Ohio that tried to come on the team to win it. And it was a good time. And of course we did all the Fargo stuff and all that. And it was, like I said, just fun. And then it kind of, for me, it all kind of came to an end in about 1999. I was diagnosed with cancer and ended up having like 10 hours of surgery. My blood was screwed up, I couldn't run. I used to work out every day with the kids and was hands-on. And when I got done, I ended up with a colostomy and other problems, and it was too bad because I expected to continue on. And I just got to the point where I couldn't go and really couldn't work with the kids anymore. And I thought, well, but it's also been very good because ever since then, my wife and I have traveled and done a lot of things, and we still follow it. It ended up, I got my 30 years and retired. My youngest son was still wrestling in Michigan, and so we followed him for 2 years and had a great time. And I still follow the sport and love it, but I just can't go at the same level that I used to. But thank you very much. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
We are honored our next lifetime of service of wrestling, Bill McGrain. Not only he's many Hall of Fames, committees, 27 years, Olmsted Fall High School. And I think when I was reading this last night, the important part was all the state finalists, 15 state finalists, 7 individual. And I start seeing the Ohio Wrestling Hall of Fame, Northwestern Hall of Fame. And he is in the USA Wrestling National Hall of Fame chapter, Ohio. And we are honored to have Bill McGrain here. Please put your hands together for our next honor. You don't need no help.
Boy, thanks to everybody that had anything to do with me being up here, and the people who made the trip down here from the Cleveland area, back to my hometown and Bloomdale, Ohio, that are here. It means an awful lot. As soon as I got the call that I would be able to stand on this podium and receive this tremendous honor, it made me think back to how did I get to this level? And first thing I thought of was my parents. I was very fortunate to grow up in Northwest Ohio on a farm, and I had 2 loving parents who all I did was watch them work and follow our careers as athletes. My parents, as a competitor, they never babied me. I had a brother that took 3rd in the state with 1 arm. He was younger than me, so they sure as hell weren't going to baby me, and they did. I heard 2 standing ovations. My first 2 standing ovations at the state tournament were Mark Zimmer and my brother Tom, who was 3rd in the state in 1980, which was really a big thrill. My trip, I heard Charlie talk about his trip through wrestling. Mine started kind of as an odd thing. My older brother wrestled, went to all of his meets, but in the meantime, I was just a youth basketball player. 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade. 7th grade, I think I averaged 32 points a game. If our team scored 34, I would score 32. And they talked about me starting as a freshman when I would become a freshman. I was in 7th grade, but what nobody knew is I was on the fence. I would go to a lot of meets. I watched all of my brother's matches. One thing that kind of encouraged me is my older brother would call me a lot of names because I played basketball, and none of those were very masculine in nature, so that had an effect on me. But I would go to these meets, and I would watch guys like a couple guys a little bit older, like Jerry Metcalf from Perrysburg. I idolized him, Robin Rayfield, and then Andy DeSabato was another guy I would follow from DeSales. And, you know, guys along the way like that, the two Bergmans, Jim and Joe Bergman were at Cardinal Stritch. I was the guy holding the bracket, keeping the scores, and nobody knew I was on the fence. And there was one conversation right before my 8th grade year, about this time of year, before the season was starting, the basketball season was start. And you guys are pretty knowledgeable sports fans. You know, when you have a basketball and you throw it to your teammate and they make a basket, that's an assist. I didn't know what that was. I was shocked. And the coach called me in and said, McGrain, you're going to be an all-around player this year. You're going to learn to, you know, pass the ball and play more defense. And about an hour after that conversation, he convinced me that I was going to wrestling, and I never looked back. That was Coach Harris, for you people back in my hometown who wanted to have that conversation with me. Never looked back. I was very fortunate as I got into high school. I had 3 different high school coaches. In my junior year, a guy named Joe Simzak, who is here today, coached a long time after I was there, took over. And we wrestled, we really didn't know what we were doing. When he took over my junior year, he organized us, he disciplined us, which was very important. And I had a lot of success that way. I was our school's, it doesn't sound like much now, I was our school's first state qualifier ever. But that was like winning a state championship back then. But I was the first guy to get to the state tournament. It was a goal of mine for a long time, and becoming the first qualifier it was really a big thrill, and really encouraged me to wrestle in college. My drill partner in high school was actually a guy named Dean Pease, who is coaching today in the NFL. He's a defensive coordinator for Tennessee Titans. He's got a couple Super Bowl rings, and he was a young coach and was my drill partner every day. And those guys really encouraged me to continue on to wrestle at the collegiate level. And like I said, I was fortunate and unfortunate. I had 3 high school coaches. And in fact, I'd like to say Elmwood High School. I was at Elmwood High School. We had 3 high school coaches. There's only been 2 high school coaches since Joe Simzak took over. He was there for a long time. Dave Lee took over for a long time, has stepped down this year, and he did a great job there as well. So just two coaches since 1974 have been at that school, which showed a lot of stability. And then my collegiate level was the same year. 2 years at a junior college in Michigan. Then I went to Ashland. I had 2 coaches there, and then I was a grad assistant in Miami, Ohio, where I yet was able to experience another coach. So I was involved with 7 different head coaches from my time in high school, and I had to develop a philosophy on all these things I picked up from those guys, and it worked for me. I was a sponge, and I would learn from every one of those guys. Not to make it you hear my sob story. You'll have wrestling sob stories sometimes, but I think one thing that really helped me in my coaching career is I was an overtime match away in high school from being a state place winner. I was an overtime match at Ashland University from being an All-American, and I kind of told myself when I got into wrestling that I'm never going to lose. I'm going to work overtime, not to lose in overtime. And it really motivated me to, push the kids that I had with my shortcomings. That's something about this sport. Sometimes when you lose, it makes you tougher, and sometimes you excel from your failures. And I think those 2 overtime losses may have a lot for me to be here today. Worked a lot of camps with a lot of you guys. I'm a sponge with all you guys. I picked up a lot from a lot of you people in here. Years at Wayndale were great. Got my start at Wayndale. We had our first state champion. Met my wife there. Had wonderful time at Wayndale. But the heart of my career was obviously my time at Olmsted Falls. 27 years there, become a very big part of me. My wife, we're not up to 50s yet, but we were at 32 years, and I would have never been able to do anything that I've done without, her support above and beyond. My goal when I started coaching, 24 years old, I'm going to coach 8 years as hard as I can, then I'm going to give it up. When I say work, I use that loosely. When I was going my way through college, I worked construction. That was work. Wrestling was never work. I guess there's a little passion in that word work when it comes to it. I never mind going to practice, never minded all that stuff that we put into it. But my goal is to work 8 years, and I ended up working 30 years as a head coach, and I would have never been able to do that without my wife. She convinced me many times to stay with it. There's many times I had a rough year, ready to step aside, and I owe her an awful lot for that. Got kind of a funny story. I was real excited in 1997. We had a great year in 96, took third in state, and I got the Division II Coach of the Year. Ohio plaque, it's over here in the corner somewhere, and I put it up on the mantle. I said, wow, I got Coach of the Year, one of your main goals you get. And about 3 weeks later, my wife gets this plaque in the mail. It's the shape of the United States, and it's the head coach's Wife of the Year award by USA Magazine. So she takes this plaque and she puts it over my Ohio plaque. Well, what a fitting award. She became our team dietitian. She works in the office at the school. You know, you guys that are coaching know how those secretaries can head off a lot of problems. And when it's your wife and a great wrestling supporter, it really worked to be very beneficial. Tracy, I love you, and would not be up here without you. My sons, I coached a lot of great leaders on my teams. And one son graduated in 2006, the other graduated in 2010, so I got to coach my sons for 8 straight years. As one graduated, the other one came in. Can't be real easy to be like the son of the head coach. I would tell you, my kids had the pulse of the team. They motivated the team. The teammates loved them, and the best leaders I've ever had were my 2 sons. Nothing like coaching your sons. I'm very fortunate that I got to do that. I know some of you guys in here have gotten to do that too, and the highlight of my life to be able to do that. The year I got into the Ohio Hall of Fame was the same year one of my son Zach placed, which was a pretty big thrill. I think the thing that I miss most about coaching is being the head coach is the camaraderie I had with my coaches. My assistant coaches, we had a bond that will never ever be broken. They're the best friends of my life, and a lot of those guys are here today. Guys like, I had Sean Pellerite for a number of years, was an All-American, and John Carroll, Johnny Miller, Fred Oden, Jim Amy, Ross Whitson, John Daglish, Pat Carver. And I know I'm probably missing a few guys that did coach with me, but most importantly, 2 guys that are here today that are still coaching there, Chris Oden and Bryce Burkhardt, who's now the head coach there. Tremendous bond that I've had with those guys and experiences. And, guys, thanks for coming here. And I miss you guys, really do. Miss all that stuff that we did over all those years. At Homestead Falls, our goal, was to win a state title. And it's like we never did. We made a couple of good little runs at it. Never won the state title, but sometimes I think maybe we really did kind of reach a goal because we had such a strong goal to do it that every day our kids walked in that room, that was the goal, was to be the best. And we put that effort in every day, every competition, and the friendships that I've gained from my wrestlers, from I think those attitudes that we had are just something else. I mean, this sport's done so much for me, and the relationships that I've gained from this sport are just phenomenal. And I think it's because of those goals that we had and we fought so hard for every day. I think it's very fitting that Clay Burkhardt is here. Clay was at Fairview High School, and we had probably 3 times, I think, that we sold gyms out. One year we went to Fairview, this family had toured me. You talk about to get up here, you need the families and your wrestlers, and I loved them all. But this family, first of all, Terry Atkins. Terry was a coach for me for a number of years. He's officiated multiple state tournaments, and he has 2 boys on the Homestead Falls team this year. They're very involved. His next in line brother, Mike. Mike was a state runner-up for me in 1989, and has also officiated multiple state tournaments. Jim Atkins was 4th in the state in 94, and he also coached with me for a number of years. He has boys involved as well. And Kevin Atkins, Kevin was a state qualifier, and yesterday, he was an All-American at Baldwin-Wallace, was inducted into the Baldwin-Wallace Athletic Hall of Fame yesterday. Those guys are all here, and I appreciate you guys all being here. You guys have been a very big part of my little ride here that I've had, that I'm so excited about being here. The numbers, I look at my numbers, they amaze myself. I think, when I look at all that. But beyond that, there's a couple things I'd like to mention about our program that we've accomplished that you don't usually see written. But we won the Medina Invitational outright in 2000. That wasn't division, we won the Medina Invitational. We were the outright champions. We won the Deese Memorial Championship 3 times in a row. We won the Kempson Invitational 3 times in a row. We had the first state champion at the Schottenstein. First state champion of the new millennium. Kyle Stouffer won the state tournament in 2000. He was the first 103 pounder to walk off the mat. So we had the first state champion in that beautiful arena. We were 2-0 in our career versus Graham High School. We were the last team to be ahead of Graham after a round at the state tournament 18 years ago. I remind Jeff Jordan of that as often as I can. I had a brainstorm, it's about done here, but I had a brainstorm years ago. I said, I want to have the best clinic going. So I started a youth clinic, and then I started a preseason camp. Listen to the people that I have brought in to Homestead Falls as a youth camp. Jay Jaggers, that was his very first camp he ever worked. Jay Jaggers right out of Chanel. Brett Metcalf from up in Michigan, you all know him. Steve Luke, J.D. Bergman. Those are a few that we had for our youth camp. Then I would run a preseason clinic. Here's the clinic that we put together. I'm very proud to say these names. Right out of Wisconsin, his first camp, well, that wasn't his first camp, but right after he won his second title, I had Jim Jordan, then Nate Carr, Sergei Beloglazov, Tom Brands, Kevin Jackson, Zeke Jones, Les Gutches, Brandon Slay, Lincoln McElravy, Rob Eider, Lou Roselli, and the last one I had was a guy named Cale Sanderson. I think I accomplished that goal. I'm very lucky when you get done with wrestling, you just, you're not done, you gotta continue on, you're not a head coach. I've been very lucky to find Baldwin Wallace University, and Coach Jamie Gibbs has given me a home to stay involved with the sport of wrestling, keeps me involved with this program. Very proud to say that I'm the godfather of his 2 sons, Caden and Bodie. Very, very, very happy to have found Baldwin Wallace to keep me involved. It's very much a family atmosphere for us. Got my whole family here, my whole immediate family. We had a birthday party for my 3-year-old granddaughter, McKinley, over here yesterday. And I also have 2 grandsons. Listen to these names for grandsons. I think they're wrestling names, Bo and Logan. Good wrestling names. And my 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws, Ashley and Carly. I'll give you an idea of the relationship I have with my sons. A couple years ago, I was out having a golf game with my sons, and my golf game was not living up to my expectations that day, and I've been known to have meltdowns on a golf course. Well, this was right after I got in the Ohio Hall of Fame. I was having a really rough day. You guys at golf probably, we've all had these days. I was really having a rough one. I wasn't hitting the ball very far at all. And one of my sons said, Dad, you can't be in every Hall of Fame. And the other one said, it sure as hell ain't going to be this one. And then I really got upset. But I will tell them today, they can make fun of me on the golf course, but today I get to take home the green jacket. Thank you.
Coach is absolutely right. We learn a lot from our losses. And when we win, we're never satisfied. We win, the guy wasn't good enough. You win, you didn't pin him fast enough. You pinned him, he was no good. They don't give heavyweights outstanding trophy. You get the most falls, you want everything. Now we are into our last Outstanding American award. And this gentleman not only wrestled, not only volunteered in high schools, but also he's a lawyer who published 75 articles, talked to 200 different lawyers, and if you go see all the gavels, if you go to jail, you want to call him. He's one of the leaders in West Ohio, West Ohio lawyers, and he's a leader in business litigation past 20 years. Please put your hands together for Stefan Chappelear.
you, Matt, and thank you for being here. It's a great honor to have you here to make these presentations. When I received the call from Andy DeSabato with the wonderful news of this induction, I was immediately struck with three thoughts. The first was shock, amazement, wonder, disbelief. I said to my wife, Sharon, this is incredible. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think that I would be inducted in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame? She said, Steve, honey, you're not in my wildest dreams. My second thought, and I'll admit this is not entirely logical, was, oh my gosh, I've got to make weight. I still have this nightmare. It's an hour before the weigh-in, I'm 10 pounds overweight. But for today, I'm 64 pounds overweight. My third thought was thinking back to when I was 8 years old and my dad spanked me. I don't deserve this. Congratulations to all of the other inductees today. I'm honored to be here inducted with them. You've heard and read about them. They're obviously great representatives of our sport. It is fair to say that I did not achieve great success on the mat. The fact is, I was really pretty pathetic. But there is only one reason that I lost to all those other guys. They were better wrestlers than me. As my daughter Casey likes to point out, I have a lot to be humble about. And Matt said we learn a lot. When we lose, I learned a lot. In 3 weeks, it will be 50 years since I first started wrestling. In November of 1968, I went out for the wrestling team at Columbus West High School. I did that because my best friend then and my best friend today, Tim Williams, was on the wrestling team, and he was cool. And I thought, I want to be cool. I want to be on the wrestling team with Tim. The problem was that Tim and I are the same exact size. We were both in the 120-pound weight class. And you'd think that a good friend would let you win at least one challenge match during the year. But no. That year, I wanted to learn everything I could about wrestling. I found a great book called Wrestling Methods by Dave Camioni. And 40 years later, I got to meet Dave. He'd wrestled at Ohio State. He was a 130-pound Big Ten champion. He was voted outstanding wrestler in the Big Ten tournament. And as life goes in a circle, we're now good friends, and he was the one kind enough to nominate me for this honor. My senior year of high school, I changed high schools, went to Worthington High School. My classmate John Stauffer is here. I had a great coach there, Jerry Steffen. Then I was off to Ohio State, where I walked on and wrestled for 4 years with Casey Fredericks. He was kind enough to let me stay in the room. And one of my teammates and friends, Jack Cruzy, is here today. Thank you, Jack, for coming. Sharon was with me my entire Ohio State wrestling career. She and I met the summer after high school, and we dated all through college. We were both going to school, both working. I was on the wrestling team. She had a lot of sacrifices. She got to see me in a lot of bad moods, a lot of times when I was very hungry. We did not have any Thanksgiving or Christmas meals. She got to see a lot of mat burns on my face from where Jack had planted me into the mat. Thank you, Jack. But she stuck with it, and thank you, Sharon. The next chapter in my wrestling then was after graduation to help out as an assistant coach. And I had the great privilege of helping to coach at Licking Heights. You've already heard about Licking Heights from Ken Ash. Well, following what Ken started with the great program at Licking Heights, then it went on to coach Kevin Peck. And I got to coach with Kevin and with Phil Keene We had a great time doing that. And on that, one of our better teams was Kurt Haywood, who's with us. Kurt was on our state championship team. He was a leader of that team. He was himself a state champion. Kurt, thank you for coming. The teammates that I had on various wrestling teams, high school and college, the coaches that I got a chance to work with, the athletes that I got to coach, all, without knowing it, inspired and motivated me to learn about grit, determination, perseverance, preparation, all of the things that have led to whatever success I've been able to have in life, all came from the wrestling mat. About 5 years after I was practicing law, I went back to talk to Casey Fredericks. I said, this is where I learned to be a good lawyer, was in the wrestling room with the lessons that you taught me, and thank you so much. As Dan Gable said, once you have wrestled, everything else in life is easy. And that's what prepares you for great success. Thank you to the selection committee for selecting me for this award. I appreciate it very much. Thank you and God bless.
We are almost at the end of our program. Make sure all the honorees come up for their picture with the green jacket. And also, as a heavyweight, never had a dream of being 10 pounds overweight. As a heavyweight representing the United States, and Joel might remember this, our biggest challenge was going to Cuba or somewhere. Your luggage don't get there, and how you gonna find size 14 wrestling shoes? They will not let you wrestle in socks. There were many times we carried our shoes in our hands. You can do everything, you can borrow anything, but shoes was important. But I still dream about standing in there, waiting to start the injury timeout, and I'm looking for shoes. Well, the dreams are dreams, but it's still different. Please welcome one of our greatest board member again.
First of all, thank you for coming out on a Sunday afternoon to celebrate the selection of our Hall of Fame members. Thank you so much. Make this possible, we have a committee, we call it the Board of Directors for the High Chapter of National Wrestling Association. And will you stand up and say the applause at the end? Ray Anthony, Dick Nanachi, Andy Sabdo, Steve Kish, Raymond Rayfield, and the best one of these all is always a female involved, Steffi Mendelson. Give them a big hand of applause. As you look at the back of the program, sponsors help us out financially. The Center District Official Association, the Defense Soap, the High University Wrestling, and the State Coaches Association. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money. I know the meals cost you $50, we make $8 on it. So a lot of money we have come in, or whatever we have, we send some to the National Association, but also we keep some back to make this happen again. I hope you come back, and I encourage you to. And at the same time, bow your head down, and I'd like to say a prayer for us. Almighty God, thank you for this great fellowship we had, the great honor. It wouldn't be possible without you, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Thank you so much, and have a safe trip. God bless.